Oh, welcome. I'm so happy to have you. I'm talking today to Gina Ross, who is an MFCC in Los Angeles, California, and her business is the traumainstitute.org. Gina is an founder and president of the International Trauma Healing Institutes in the United States and in Israel, and the co-founder of the Israeli Center for the Treatment of Psychotherapy at Herzog Hospital in Jerusalem. She has specialized in cutting-edge healing methods that can be brought directly to the public at large to help to cope with stress and trauma and develop resiliency for troubled times. She's a pioneer in understanding collective trauma, and she was the first to coin collective trauma vortex. She's the creator of Emotion Aid, an innovative technique that can be used as a self-help tool and which allows the recovery of our sense of control. I'm so excited to learn about this. Emotion Aid helps us to release on the spot, anywhere, anytime, any tension occurring from stress or traumatic events, allowing the adrenaline to drain from our bodies and protect us from developing post-traumatic symptoms. Welcome, Gina. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
I'm so excited to learn about what you do.
Such a wonderful venture that you took on. It's wonderful.
Thank you. I'm excited about it, yes. So can you tell us a little bit more about your work and what got you into it?
Yeah, I'm a therapist. I'm a psychotherapist, and I was working with individuals and couples and families. And I was very interested in the transpersonal work and in spirituality and more consciousness, etc. And then one day I realized that if people are traumatized, it's much more difficult for them to reach that space of higher consciousness. So then my whole work veered towards the dealing with trauma. And then I realized how pervasive it was in the world through the research work of several pioneers in the field of trauma. And I thought, wow, we really have to do something about it. And then several techniques showed up in the field of trauma healing that were short-term. They were all new. And I was wondering, like, what's going on there? And I learned a few concepts, and I realized that now we had the tools to be able to heal trauma at global level, and definitely to prevent trauma, the development of trauma. So then my institute is devoted to that task, to heal trauma at mass level around the world. And the way we do it is by entering the different social sectors that interface with trauma. And our tool, one of our tools, is Emotion Aid.
I see.
Yeah.
So do you work with groups of people, or how does your work?
Yeah.
How do you get it out there?
Yeah, it's very interesting. We try to do it through groups of people that belong to social sectors. So each social sector, let's say the military has a book, the medical field has a book, the NGOs have a book, the clergy has a book, the media has a book. Each sector, the individuals in this sector can learn to take care of their own nervous system regulation, and also how trauma impacts their work on top of themselves, and how they can, and the people around them, and how they can help bring the healing to themselves and to the people around them. So the idea really is to kind of like spread the understanding of what trauma does, the understanding how we can start recognizing the first signs of activation in ourselves, and then apply the tools. There are several types of tools. I'm offering one of them that we've called Emotion Aid, which is based on an incredible technique called somatic experiencing, and integrates also a few other things into it. But the basis of it is the understanding that trauma actually happens in the nervous system. And the way to access stress and trauma is to enter directly where it gets generated, in the nervous system. That's what's so unique about this technique.
That's so awesome.
Yeah.
Do you, how does a person recognize if they've been traumatized? Because, the fires that we had in Santa Rosa, where my office is, were several months ago. And even though everybody knew that was a traumatic event that occurred at that time, a lot of people are not aware that they're now suffering from PTSD. There are people who can't hear sirens and not freak out. People who can't smell smoke and not freak out, you know.
So I want to differentiate between trauma and PTSD. There's a whole continuum.
Okay.
So the first thing is like the whole word of trauma, what it's meaning is the loss of control. We get overwhelmed and we're not controlling our processes in the same way. So let's say I'm trying to do something, trying to work, and all of a sudden I have a flashback on the fire. That's a traumatic symptom when if I can't control my thoughts. Or let's say I hear like the veteran who would hear a sound and then his heart beating fast and he goes and hides under the table thinking that it's a shot in the war, a bomb exploding. So any reactivity that is more than what the surroundings requires means that our nervous system has been kind of impacted and now is carrying these stress hormones that have not been discharged and that keeps getting this information that we're under danger, that something is not okay. And that's where the stress gets activated in our system on an ongoing basis. So the feeling of overwhelm, the loss of control over my thoughts or my emotions, I react very quickly to things. I'm very irritable. I get scared fast. I think there's danger looming everywhere. As soon as I smell something, I'm already thinking it's a fire. All of this hyper alertness and hyper vigilance is really a sign that my nervous system is still backed up with this energy. If my thoughts are a bit confused or not very clear, I can't study, I can't concentrate in the same way as I used to, those would be the signs that start telling me that something is off for me. Okay. Generally I will get some feedback from my surroundings like that. Why are you responding this way, right? Something is off. It's just not appropriate, not completely according to what's going on in the environment. So overreactivity, that would be one way. Or it could be like I freeze. I need to do something and then I get stuck. I can't move, or I'm not, and I'm also not functioning at my best. That's for sure. There's a real diminution of functioning, of the capacity to function well. That would be how I would know about it. The question really is like, what do I do about it, right?
Yes, exactly. Yes. Yeah.
So there are wonderful techniques that are going on right now. We really have an abundance of techniques, and I'm really glad that you are creating what you're creating, because I think you put together all of those methods that are available for people. Well, this one, it borrows from different places. So the first thing I want to do is recognize when I'm off by one of those signs. If my heart is beating fast, if my breath is caught, if I have maybe something stuck in my throat, or if I feel tension in my chest, or maybe like a sense of void in my stomach, something is going on, or tension in my neck, then just recognizing this is how I'm manifesting that something is not okay in my environment.
Yeah.
Then I can get to stop and start doing the work on myself. So the awareness, the consciousness when I'm off is an important one. To question myself, am I operating at the same level that I was operating before? So if I'm not, and if I find myself under the signs of stress, where there is pulse going fast, the heart is going fast, the breath is too fast or is too short, or I can't breathe, any one of those physiological immediate signs that something is off, there are a few ways that I can calm myself like immediately before I discharge the rest, okay? So we borrowed from EMDR what we call the butterfly hug. So I cross my arms and then I tap alternatively.
Like that?
Yes, like a butterfly, right? Like
That's fun. I like that. Yeah.
Wings of the butterfly. I tap 25 times and then I take a deep breath. And then I tap again. I see from 0 to 10 how stressed I am. I tap again 25 times and then I take a deep breath. And then I take again my pulse to see where I am at the level of stress. until it goes down. Okay? That is one technique that can be used just like that, on the spot immediately. The other one is to ground myself, is to feel my feet grounded on the floor, how they're touching the ground, my feet in my shoes. Then if I'm sitting, how is my body being received by the chair? And then the very good thing is to activate my thinking process. Like, what's going on around me? Can I count 10 different textures? Can I count 10 different colors? Can I count 10 different forms in my environment? The moment I'm getting my thoughts busy with something like that, I'm activating my neocortex, my thinking brain, which means that I get out of the feeling cortex, out of those traumatic things. So I can get some range of control over it. Now the work can start after that. Then I can go into my body and see what I'm feeling. But now I'm a little bit more aware. I'm not like, too much, losing it that I can't even function. I recovered some measure of functioning, and now I can go into my body and notice as I'm thinking about what's happening or what happened to me, can be in the present or in the past or in the future. What do I notice in my body? So what I'm really wanting to concentrate here is on the sensations, the inner sensation in my body.
Okay.
Something that I said, how is my breath? Do I have something stuck in my throat? Do I have a constriction in my chest? Do I have butterflies in my stomach? Do I have tension in my jaws or in my temples or in my neck? Those are signs, those are sensations that something is stuck. Now, here's the miracle. If I focus on all of them at the same time, I get more and more traumatized, more and more activated. But if I only take one at a time and focus on it, by and of itself, there's a process that happens that does not require my willpower, does not require that I know tons about therapy or anything like that. Just the fact that I notice, for example, that my breath is lacking, that my breath has stopped, just staying with my awareness there, all of a sudden, my nervous system is going to bring up the opposite of that. If I couldn't breathe, the breath will come up. So it's based on the concept of polarity, that everything comes together. And when I focus on something that's stuck, it gets unstuck by itself. But if I focus on one sensation at a time. Why is that? Because trauma is about overwhelm. Too much happened, too fast, can't handle it, can't digest it anymore. However, the capacity to digest and cope is built into my system. So I start serving it only little doses at a time. Instead of barfing a whole meal, I just do it, work with it, and take the next one. That same big meal I can eat without excess on my stomach. I ate it very fast and I can handle it.
Got it.
We're learning to digest again the stress, and we have a built-in system to be able to do that digestion. We have the body, it's what I call it, a washing machine. You put bad stuff in it, it brings it up clean. If I do it one sensation at a time, through the sensations.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So let's say I have a really hard, my heart goes fast, and I feel that completely overwhelmed. You do the same thing, you just pay attention to the heartbeat.
That's right. Notice your heart beating fast.
Okay.
And see what happens next. Now, a sensation takes longer to track than a thought. So you have to give it time. Not freak out, not judge it, not analyze it, not saying it should have come faster, or it's too long, or why am I doing this, or what's wrong with me. All of these judgments are slowing down the process of self-regulation. So it's very neutral, very anthropological, curious awareness that I'm just putting on that sensation. So I notice my heart beating fast, the breath comes in, And what do I notice after that? It's beating less fast. So I say, oh, great, it's beating less fast. Let me notice it's beating less fast and give it more time. So I close my eyes again. I focus and immediately the breath starts coming in. Now, there are different ways that my body discharges on its own. It's autonomic, okay? It happens by itself at the unconscious level. It's involuntary, not unconscious, involuntary. I'm not doing it on purpose. It won't work if I do it on purpose, okay? So it will look like trembling or shaking, deep breath that comes by itself, a yawning, a heat wave, warm sweat, gurgling of the stomach, or goosebumps. Any one of those, instead of me saying, oh my God, what's going on with me? It's too hot, or I'm trembling and shaking, what's going on? No, I need to stop myself. At the opposite, I go, oh, my body is discharging. That's wonderful. And I allow it to discharge.
Got it.
I give it all the time to release. Sometimes it takes a minute. Sometimes it might take 3, 4, 5 minutes. Great. The more activation I have, the longer it takes for the discharge to get completed. So I want to normalize it and know that my body now is doing the right thing for me. Then I go to the next sensation. Do the same thing. The next sensation, I do the same thing. After I'm done with these sensations, then I go back to the original thought, to the original event. And when I think about it right now, what do I notice? Well, my heart is still beating and I have a constriction in my throat, but not as much as before. Okay, let's do it again. Put attention on the heart beating fast, see what happens next, wait for the discharge. Then go to the throat, what happens next, wait for the discharge. Now I go back to event again and I see and I think about it. What happens? What do I notice? What comes up in my body? If there's more that comes up, I keep discharging. If there's nothing that come up, it means that I just digested the event.
Oh, wow. And does that mean it's done? Like you're not going to go through it again? Or?
That's right. If I've digested it, that means the activation won't get repeated and I will not develop symptoms of trauma. So it's actually a preventive technique, not only a healing technique. It's a preventive technique. So we've created something called brushing your nervous system every night.
Okay.
Or every day. Go through the events of the day.
Yes.
And you look at them. If an event happened that was really delicious and nice, you say, oh, great. That was a lovely experience. That's a resource for me.
Yeah.
So I want my body to feel it too. So when I'm thinking about that, what do I notice? Oh, my chest opens up. I have a smile. A deep breath come in. Wonderful. I just enjoy it and that's it. And I go through the rest and maybe 3 events happen that were either upsetting or unfinished or something. I choose one of them. I always do only one thing at a time because I don't want to
multitasking. No multitasking. Right?
No multitasking, and I don't want to open the cascade of bad stuff. That's where the overwhelm comes from. Too much, too fast, too soon. That's not what I want. So one at a time when I go back. Okay? And I do the same process. When I think about the event, what happens, take it one sensation at a time, through the body, discharge it, go through the event again until it's calmed down. If I feel like I want to take the other event again and work with it, it's great. If I feel like, oh, I'm done, my nervous system is in place, that's also good. Because what's going on? We're not necessarily having to treat each event that happens. What we're doing is we're reestablishing our self-regulatory mechanisms. The way that normally my nervous system knows how to handle arousal and take it down and handle arousal and take it down, I just reestablished that. So I can go back to my either normal activity or like I'm ready to go to bed now because I don't have all this agitation in my body stopping me from doing what I need to do, whether it's work or whether it's sleep. And that, if I do that for a while, that's what I call the brushing your nervous system. It's like developing your emotional muscles. You develop resiliency. And the next time, God forbid, there is an event that's not good, that happens, that's difficult, my capacity to handle it is very big. It's very different.
Mm.
I want to give you an example because it was so striking. When I was working in Israel, there was a specific street that a lot of the suicide bus bombing happened. And one young woman came out of the apartment and a bus exploded and she got very traumatized by it. She saw the bus exploding. She couldn't function for 3-4 weeks. She went to see one of my students and he helped her discharge all of the trauma that she saw, that all the activation. She was fine. She went back to functioning. Everything was fine. Okay. Then a year later, she comes out of her apartment. Another bus explodes in front of her. What does she do? She stays calm and she walks towards the place to help the people that were victimized. The neural pathway of resiliency had developed in her brain. She could handle the same event and respond to it very differently.
And did she do the brushing every day? Is that part of what she did, or?
She did some of that, but she had already that session or two with my student. She had learned how to discharge from her nervous system.
Got it.
In vivo, it happened, something that happened to her for real,
Right.
at that moment, and she was able to discharge it. So one of the ways is to train our nervous system for the resilience part. We can do that. Do you know how you train your physical muscles?
Yes, yeah, I like that.
Train our emotional muscles.
Yeah.
And brush our nervous system every day.
I like that. Brush your nervous system. Yeah.
That's how we take it back to its homeostasis. Because otherwise there's something called cumulative trauma. Something happens, okay, I can handle it, but I don't take the time to do much about it. And something else, and something else, and something else. And I'm so full, I'm easily irritable, I'm reacting to a lot of things. And then all of a sudden, one more little thing, the whole thing is out. And now I have PTSD.
Right. And that happens on an everyday basis. You don't have to have a major life event.
That's right. That's right.
To have those pile up.
Yeah. Because the nervous system is too taxed.
If somebody were to do that on a daily basis, let's say it was their exercise like you described, how many minutes, or is there no set number of minutes?
It's no set number of minutes. I mean, they can do it 3-4 minutes depending on what event they are handling. If the event was very upsetting, there's more, a little bit more to do. It depends on how they've worked. But here's the thing. It's a very good question, because the more you exercise it, the faster you get to the results. I only talk about the body, the breath already comes up. I don't even have to do anything. I don't have to feel bad. I'm already just talking about the felt sense. My breath is already coming up. It's exercised. So it's like we develop a neural pathway of how to deal with regaining our balance.
I like that. That's awesome.
And the body is truly an amazing washing machine.
When it's not overloaded.
So here's the thing. The body is the one that suffers the overload, but the body is also the means for healing. So what is the secret? One sensation at a time, one event at a time, one person at a time, one dilemma at a time, one conflict at a time.
Yeah.
This one at a time is the secret. Otherwise, we're going to overwhelm.
Yes. I love that. Thank you so much. Is there anything exciting you want to share with your audience today? Like any place they could go to find more information?
More information, they can come on our website. It's www.traumainstitute.org. We have lots of goodies. We have developed actually a toolkit for stress release.
Oh, wow.
Little bracelets. We have the 4 steps on the 5 steps on them. We have little mugs with the 5 steps on them. We have the CD brushing your nervous system. We have a video that teaches the technique. We have a book that teaches the technique. We have all of these tools that people can really use for themselves. Can I give you one last little tip that's
Of
really
course. I would love that. Yes. Thank
okay.
you.
So there is something that we also do that's called the magic sentence. If anything were to be possible at all, what would happen? What would you do? What would have this person said? What you would have been able to do otherwise because you weren't able to do it then.
Mm.
And so this sentence is allowing us to recreate something that got unfinished. And because it got unfinished, it remains stuck in our body. And by finishing it, even just in fantasy, in our mind, we help our nervous system complete a task that allows it then to defend itself in the right way when we need it again. We recover our control.
So the question you ask yourself is, what one sentence would I say?
Anything were to be possible at all, what would I have wanted that was different?
Got it.
What would a person have said? What would I have done different? Who would have come to help me? Whatever the situation requires to complete itself for the good of the person, that's what we bring up. And then we notice what happens in our body when we bring that up. It's a more complicated way. Like this is like the big gift, that you find in the cake. Easier to understand it once you go through the exercises and you go through the book and all of that stuff. But there is something that is called the magic sentence. We have that, and it is magic. It works very beautifully.
So I'm just going to ask you this. So let's say my house burnt down. Mm-hmm. And my one thought is, if my house hadn't burned down, if anything could have happened.
It doesn't work.
That doesn't work. So how do you do that correctly?
You can't erase the event itself.
Right.
Why? Because your brain has already gone through tracking the event, like through dealing with the event. Mm-hmm. And it got stuck in assimilating it. So we want the response to be something that allows for the assimilation.
Okay.
The disappearance, the non-happening is not going to help complete.
Right.
These plans that were already made because we had to deal with the event.
Got it.
So for example, there we can say, okay, like a year from now, when my house is built, or when I find again what I need to do and the insurance is paid or whatever, where do I see myself? Like, how do I bring again what I need? Da, 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 da. So you build the what's possible.
Kind of from going forward rather than back.
Going forward. Now, the person that we were working with, whose house got burned, she actually was confused what two things to take care of when she saw the fire, and just helping her decide this one and then that one, then that internal confusion disappeared and she was able to heal better about this point.
Okay.
So whatever got stuck there, because we never know what got stuck, Oh, I didn't run far away, or I didn't go fast enough, or I locked the door, or I forgot to take something, whatever it is, right? So we have to work with whatever happened there that got us stuck about it. And it's always a different thing for different people, different things. So now we're going into the more intricate part of it, yeah?
Yes.
But the part about it really is whenever I feel arousal in my body, I can release the arousal by dealing with one sensation at a time. That's the most important part.
Got it. Thank you so much.
Okay. Very good.
Appreciate your time. Yes. Want to just say your website one more time and
www.traumainstitute.org.
thank you so much. I'm really happy to have you here, and I look forward to sharing your information with people.
Thank you. And we'll be checking on yours to see what else you bring up. I may also send you some other techniques if you would like.
I would love that, please. Yeah, thank
People
you.
have to have everything. They have to have everything.
Yes, but I will go look at your website again and learn more.
Okay. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much for having us.
Thank you.